got trouble, got royalty inside my DNA. I got memories, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA.
Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to give a summary of episode 2 of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. So without further ado, let's start. As Edward and Alphonse travel by train to the town of Riel in order to investigate rumors of a miraculous prophet, they remember upon the events that put them on the path to their ultimate goal, the Philosopher's Stone. 10 years earlier, in their hometown of Rezembul, they had discovered their remarkable talent for alchemy, much to the surprise and joy of their young mother. Unfortunately, she had died soon afterward of an epidemic that had reached the village. Not knowing how to go on without her, and refusing to wait for their estranged father's return, they decided to revive her with alchemy, despite the fact that human transmutation has always been forbidden. While relying on the support of their neighbor Pinocchio Rockbell and her orphaned granddaughter Winry, the boys honed their alchemy skills for several years until they deemed their knowledge sufficient to attempt the difficult experiment. However, the transmutation failed, resulting in a rebound. As a large eye opened in the middle of their human transmutation circle, the boys were both deconstructed and consumed by the unleashed energy. Edward found himself transported to a strange, white void. It was furnished only with a large, stone gate and populated by a mysterious, white, shadowy figure referring to itself as Truth, God, All, One, and as Edward himself. Taunted by this strange being, Edward was forced into the gate, where inconceivable amounts of information about alchemy and the world were painfully inserted directly into his mind as his body began to deconstruct completely. As Edward struggled to understand what the truth had meant by this, he realized that his left leg was being stripped from his body. Forced back into reality, Edward loosing his blood in agony from his severed limb and realized that Alphonse had not returned at all. His entire body had been taken into the void. Looking toward the center of the circle, hoping for his mother's presence to salve his physical and emotional wounds, Edward discovered that the newly formed being was not even human and had died shortly after showing signs of life. Left alone yet again, Edward quickly bandaged his wounds and hastily performed a transmutation that he hoped would bring his brother back to him, drawing a blood rune on an empty vintage set of armor. As he begged the truth to give his brother back, even at the cost of his own heart, Edward clapped his hands together, initiating a transmutation without the use of a circle. In the present, at Central Command, as Colonel Roy Mustang prepares to head back to his jurisdiction in East City, he is met by Lieutenant Colonel Mays Hughes, who gives him the final report on the Isaac McDougall incident, a report which notes the freezing alchemist's abilities as alchemy, a mysterious art from the eastern nation of Shing. On Mustang's way out, Mays asks Roy why he made Edward a state alchemist when he knew that a position in the military would inevitably lead him down a dark and hellish road. But as Roy remarks to himself that those boys have already been through hell, he reminisces on the events that led him to the boy who would be known as the Fullmetal Alchemist. 4 years earlier, Lieutenant Colonel Mustang had arrived in Rezembul with 2nd Lieutenant Riza Hawkeye to scout out some potential recruits for the State Alchemist program and discovered the horrific, blood-stained remains of what was unmistakably a human transmutation circle in the Elric home. Furious, he had set out to find the culprit and found the young Edward Elric, crippled from the loss of his leg and injured from the loss of his right arm. While he had originally come to criticize the little alchemist, his discovery that his brother Alphonse had survived as a soul bound to a suit of steel armor changed his demeanor to one of astonishment. Sitting down with the Elrics and Pinocchio Rockbell, Mustang explained that Edward's skills would be more than enough to qualify him for the State Alchemist program, where, once enrolled, he would have resources at his disposal capable of leading him to discover a method of restoring his and his brother's bodies to normal. Pinocchio objected, remarking that she had seen and buried the inhuman monster that the boys had transmuted with alchemy and scolding Mustang for trying to pull them back into such nightmarish affairs. Outside, young Winry Rockbell was speaking with Riza and mentioned that once, soldiers had taken her parents away from her. And now, they are again trying to take Ed and Al away. However, Riza responded that the choice to stay or go remained with the Elric brothers alone. When asked by Winry why she became a soldier, the second lieutenant responded that she had done so in order to protect someone. As Mustang and Hawkeye took their leave, Riza remarked that Edward's eyes had looked so full of defeat, but Roy responded that he had seen fire in those eyes. On the train, in the present, Edward remembers the day he had decided to go through with the operation to install his automail limbs in order to move forward. When asking how long the rehabilitation process would take, Edward responded to Pinico's answer of 3 years, with the proclamation that it would only take him 1. A year later, after the process had finished, Edward revealed to Alphonse that he had gained the ability to transmute without a circle, just like their teacher. But when Ed asked Al if he could do the same, due to his own visit into the gate, the younger Elric responded negatively. Shortly afterward, Edward ventured to Central City to take his certification test, for which the Führer, King Bradley, was personally in attendance. After displaying his skill as well as his nerve by staging a mock attack on the Führer, Edward was given his State Alchemist certification and the symbolic title, Fullmetal Alchemist. As dawn breaks in the present, the Elric's train arrives in Riol, where Edward hopes that their journey will come to an end, with the Philosopher's Stone. That's the end of the episode. If you like this type of content, please like, share and subscribe. See you in the next episode.
Can anybody out there hear me? Hear me?